blade wasn't supposed to glow like that. One moment, Lena Voss was fighting for her life in a derelict spaceport. The next, a single drop of blood from a stranger's wound had ignited an ancient power neither of them understood. Now their fates were bound by glowing marks that pulsed with a will of their own. Marks that whispered secrets in a forgotten language, that made Lena feel Marcus Drake's heartbeat as clearly as her own. The mercenaries hunting them called it a curse. The legends called it the vow of Calrath. But as the markings spread across their skin like living ink, Lena realized the terrifying truth. This wasn't just a bond. It was a countdown. And when the last symbol completed itself, one of them would cease to exist. Please wait. Before we start, tap that iCard button in the top right corner and smash that subscribe button. Right now, hit the notification bell so you're first in line when new stories land. Alright, let's dive into the story. Chapter 1. The dim neon glow of the abandoned spaceport flickered like a dying star, casting long shadows across the rusted metal walkways. Lena Voss moved through the darkness like a wraith, her form-fitting black combat suit hugging every curve of her athletic frame. At 32, she'd spent more than half her life dancing on the edge of blades and bullets, and tonight was no different. The air smelled of ozone and old grease. The distant hum of failing power cores the only sound in the derelict docking bay. Her fingers tightened around the hilt of her plasma-edged dagger, the weapon humming softly in anticipation. She didn't like this job. The client had been vague, the payout suspiciously high, and the location reeked of a setup. But credits were credits, and Lena had never been one to back down from a fight. A boot scuffed against grated metal behind her. She spun, blade flashing in a lethal arc, only to freeze mid-motion as a man stepped into the dim light. Tall, broad-shouldered, with dark stubble shadowing a sharp jawline. He held his hands up in mock surrender. A smirk played on his lips, but his eyes, deep brown and far too perceptive, were locked onto her dagger. "Easy there, killer," he drawled. "I come in peace." Lena didn't lower her weapon. "Who the hell are you?" "Marcus Drake, professional problem solver." His smirk widened. "And, judging by the look on your face, your competition." Her grip on the dagger tightened. "This is my job, Drake. Walk away." He chuckled, rolling his sleeves up to reveal forearms crisscrossed with old scars. "Funny. My contract says the same thing." Before she could retort, the screech of metal echoed through the bay. Shadows shifted, too many of them. Figures emerged from the darkness, weapons drawn. Lena cursed under her breath. "You led them here." Marcus's smirk vanished. "Not me, sweetheart. You've got enemies." The first shot rang out, a pulse round searing past Lena's ear. She ducked, rolling behind a stack of cargo crates as return fire lit up the bay. Marcus dove beside her, his shoulder brushing against hers. "Plan?" he shouted over the chaos. "Don't die," she snapped. He barked a laugh. "I like your style." Lena didn't have time to respond. A mercenary lunged at them, vibroblade gleaming. She twisted, her dagger meeting his in a shower of sparks. The force of the clash sent her stumbling back, right into Marcus. "Watch it," he grunted, shoving her aside just as another attacker swung at her. She retaliated with a vicious kick to the man's ribs, sending him crashing into a console. "I had that." Marcus shot her a look. "Sure looked like it." Another mercenary charged. Lena pivoted, her blade slicing outward, but Marcus moved at the same time, his body crossing her line of attack. The dagger grazed his forearm, drawing a thin line of crimson. "Damn it, woman!" he hissed, clutching his arm. Lena opened her mouth to retort, then froze. A single drop of his blood landed on her blade. The metal shimmered, then pulsed. Golden light erupted from the dagger, ancient symbols flaring to life along its edge. The markings twisted like living things, crawling up Lena's wrist, burning into her skin. A voice, deep, resonant, otherworldly, echoed in her mind. "The vow is sealed." Marcus staggered back, his eyes wide as identical markings seared into his arm. "What the hell?" The world exploded in light, and then silence. Chapter 2. The morning sun cast a golden glow over the quiet town of Eldermere, its rays peeking through the dense canopy of ancient oaks. Finn adjusted the strap of his satchel, his boots crunching on the gravel path as he made his way toward the old marketplace. The air smelled of freshly baked bread and blooming wildflowers, a stark contrast to the unease gnawing at his gut. "Oi, Finn, over here," a familiar voice rang out, cutting through the hum of chatter. He turned to see Jace leaning against a wooden cart, his grin wide and mischievous as always. "You look like you've seen a ghost. What's got you all twisted up?" Finn sighed, running a hand through his tousled hair. "It's that dream again, the one with the shadowy figure and the broken mirror. Only this time it felt real." Jace's smirk faltered for just a second before he shrugged. "Dreams are just dreams, mate, unless you've been sneaking into Old Man Harlow's stash of fireweed again." "Very funny," Finn muttered, though a small smile tugged at his lips. But this was different. It was like someone, or something, was trying to tell me something. Before Jace could reply, a sharp voice interrupted them. "If you two are done gossiping like fishwives, maybe you'd like to actually earn your keep today?" Mara stood with her arms crossed, her apron dusted with flour. She tossed a loaf of bread at Finn, who caught it clumsily. "Deliver this to the widow Claiborne, and try not to get distracted by every shiny thing along the way." Jace clutched his chest in mock offense. "Mara, my love, you wound me. When have I ever been distracted? Last Tuesday, and the week before that, and pretty much every day since you learned to walk," she shot back, rolling her eyes. Finn chuckled, nudging Jace with his elbow. "Come on, let's go before she throws a rolling pin at your head." As they walked, the bustling marketplace faded behind them, replaced by the quieter lanes of the residential district. The widow's cottage stood at the end of a winding path, its garden overgrown with roses and ivy. Finn knocked twice, the sound echoing oddly in the stillness. The door creaked open, revealing Widow Claiborne's piercing blue eyes. "About time," she said, her voice like dry leaves. She snatched the bread without another word but paused as she turned away. "You've got the look about you, boy. The same one your grandmother had before she disappeared." Finn's blood ran cold. "What do you mean?" She studied him for a long moment, then shook her head. "Never mind. Just stay away from the Blackwood if you know what's good for you." With that, she slammed the door shut. Jace whistled low. "Well, that wasn't creepy at all." Finn stared at the closed door, his mind racing. "My grandmother vanished near the Blackwood, and now this dream. It can't be a coincidence." Jace clapped him on the back. "All right, enough mystery for one day. Let's grab a drink at the tavern and forget about all this ghostly nonsense." But as they walked away, Finn couldn't shake the feeling that something, or someone, was watching them from the shadows. Chapter 3. The derelict freighter groaned like a dying beast as Lena and Marcus sprinted through its corroded corridors. Emergency lights flickered overhead, casting jagged shadows that seemed to reach for them with skeletal fingers. Behind them, the rhythmic thud of combat boots echoed. Too close, too many. Lena vaulted over a fallen support beam, her boots skidding on the grated floor. "You didn't think to mention you were a wanted man?" Marcus ducked as a pulse round scorched the wall beside his head. "Didn't seem relevant at the time." A mercenary rounded the corner ahead, rifle raised. Lena didn't hesitate, her dagger flashed, and the man crumpled with a choked gasp. But as the blade bit into flesh, a sharp pain lanced through her shoulder. She hissed, staggering. Marcus caught her arm, his grip firm. "You felt that too?" She wrenched free, glaring. "No, I just enjoy getting stabbed vicariously." The markings on their arms pulsed in unison, a dull glow beneath their sleeves. Lena clenched her jaw. This bond was getting worse. Every cut Marcus took, she felt it. Every bruise she earned, he winced. It was like sharing a nervous system with a reckless idiot. Jax's voice boomed through the ship's rusted speakers, laced with static. "Drake, you can't run forever. Hand over the woman, and maybe I'll make it quick." Marcus flipped off the nearest security cam. "Charming as always, Jax. Lena grabbed his wrist, yanking him into a side corridor. Care to explain why your ex-crew wants me dead? They don't. Marcus wiped blood from his split lip. They want the dagger, and you're just the unlucky bastard holding it. She shoved him against the wall, her blade at his throat. The metal hummed between them, reacting to their proximity. Start talking. Now. Marcus didn't flinch. That blade's a relic. The vow of Calrath isn't just some marriage pact. It's a key, and you just activated it. A key to what? Before he could answer, the floor shuddered violently. Alarms wailed as the freighter's failing gravity generators sputtered. Lena's stomach lurched as her boots left the floor. Hold on. Marcus grabbed her waist, his free hand snagging a dangling cable. They swung wildly as debris floated past. Lena gripped his shoulder, her dagger still glowing in the zero-G chaos. If we die here, I'm haunting you first. Marcus grinned, breathless. Flirting in a crisis. I like it. A metallic screech tore through the corridor. The bulkhead ahead ruptured, and Jax floated through the breach, his cybernetic arm whirring as it morphed into a plasma cannon. End of the line, lovebirds. The cannon charged with a high-pitched whine. Lena's pulse roared in her ears. Then the bond flared white-hot. Time seemed to slow. Lena felt Marcus's next move before he made it. A twist of his body, a shift in weight. She moved in perfect sync, her dagger arcing through the void as Marcus kicked off the wall. The plasma blast missed by inches. Lena's blade found its mark, slicing through Jax's arm cabling. Hydraulic fluid sprayed like black blood. Jax bellowed, flailing. You'll pay for that, witch. Marcus grabbed Lena's hand as the gravity generators suddenly reactivated. They crashed to the floor in a tangle of limbs just as the corridor sealed shut behind them. Lena groaned, rolling off Marcus. Next time, warn me before you drag me into your suicide missions. He sat up, rubbing his ribs. Where's the fun in that? The markings on their arms dimmed, but the connection remained. A constant, unsettling presence. Lena studied Marcus's face, the stubborn set of his jaw, the way his eyes never quite held still. There was more to him than a disgraced mercenary. More to this bond than either understood. And that scared her more than Jax ever could. Chapter 4. The Blackwood loomed ahead, its gnarled branches twisting like skeletal fingers against the twilight sky. Finn tightened his grip on the rusted lantern, its flickering light barely piercing the thick fog that curled around their ankles. Jace, usually the first to crack a joke, was uncharacteristically quiet, his knuckles white around the hilt of his dagger. You sure about this? Jace muttered, eyeing the forest like it might swallow them whole. Widow Claiborne wasn't exactly subtle with her warnings. Finn swallowed hard but nodded. I have to know what happened to my grandmother. If this is where she vanished, there's got to be some clue here. Jace sighed dramatically. Fine. But if we get eaten by some shadow monster, I'm haunting you first. A twig snapped somewhere in the darkness. Both of them froze. Probably just a squirrel, Jace whispered, though his voice lacked its usual confidence. Since when do squirrels sound like they're wearing boots? Finn shot back. Before Jace could retort, a low, rasping laugh echoed through the trees. The air grew colder, their breath forming ghostly puffs in front of them. From the shadows, a figure emerged, tall, cloaked, and radiating an unnatural stillness. Lost, are we? The stranger's voice was smooth as silk but carried an edge like a blade. Jace stepped forward, putting himself between Finn and the stranger. Just passing through. No need for the dramatic entrance. The figure tilted its head, revealing a pair of glowing amber eyes beneath the hood. Passing through? Into the Blackwood? Brave or foolish? Finn's pulse pounded in his ears, but he forced himself to speak. We're looking for answers. About my grandmother, Leora Vane. The stranger went eerily still. Then, with a slow exhale, they pulled back their hood, revealing a face that was both ageless and weary. Leora. Now there's a name I haven't heard in decades. Jace narrowed his eyes. Hold on. Decades? You don't look a day over 30, and that's being generous. The stranger smirked. Flattery will get you nowhere, boy. They turned back to Finn. Your grandmother came here seeking the same thing you are, the truth. But the Blackwood doesn't give up its secrets easily. Finn's throat tightened. Is she alive? The stranger's expression darkened. That depends on your definition of alive. They reached into their cloak and pulled out a small silver locket. One Finn recognized instantly. It had belonged to his grandmother. Jace grabbed Finn's arm. Okay, this just went from creepy to downright unsettling. Maybe we should… No. Finn snatched the locket, his fingers trembling. I'm not leaving without answers. The stranger studied him for a long moment, then sighed. Very well, but know this, once you step onto this path, there's no turning back. The Blackwood remembers, and it hungers. A gust of wind howled through the trees, extinguishing the lantern's flame. In the sudden darkness, the stranger's voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. Follow the raven's call. It will lead you to the heart of the wood. If you dare. Then, just like that, they were gone. Jace let out a shaky breath. Well, that's not ominous at all. Finn clutched the locket tightly, his resolve hardening. We keep going. Jace groaned. I really hate it when you get that look in your eye. Somewhere above them, a raven cawed. A sharp, mocking sound. The hunt was on. Chapter 5. The desert wind howled across the ruins like a grieving spirit, kicking up clouds of red dust that stung Lena's eyes. She pulled her scarf tighter around her face, the ancient temple looming before them like a broken crown jutting from the sand. The markings on her arm burned hotter with every step, as if calling her home. Marcus squinted at the crumbling stone archway. You sure this is the place? Looks like it hasn't seen visitors in a few centuries. Lena wiped sweat from her brow. The visions don't lie. This is where the first bonded pair were sealed. Visions? Marcus raised an eyebrow. You've been holding out on me, Voss. She ignored him, stepping over a fallen pillar carved with the same symbols that now decorated their skin. The air inside the temple was cooler, thick with the scent of old metal and something else. Something electric. A shadow moved in the darkness. Lena's dagger was in her hand before she could think, the blade humming to life. Marcus drew his pistol in perfect unison. Their movements mirrored like dancers who'd practiced for years. Show yourself, Lena demanded. The figure stepped into a shaft of dusty light. A woman, tall, lean, with silver streaking her dark braid, regarded them with eyes that had seen too much. The markings on her arms glowed faintly beneath her tattered sleeves. Alara, Lena breathed. The woman's lips curled into a tired smile. So the vow has chosen again. She gestured to a low stone bench. Sit. You'll want to hear this. Marcus kept his weapon raised. How do we know you're not one of Jax's? I'm the one who survived, Alara interrupted, her voice like grinding stone. My bonded didn't. Lena felt the words like a physical blow. She lowered her dagger. How long? 32 years. Alara touched the faded markings on her wrist. He lasted 19 before the bond consumed him. Marcus finally holstered his gun. Consumed. Alara's gaze turned distant. The vow isn't just a connection. It's a merger. Two souls becoming one. Literally. She tapped her temple. At first it's just emotions, then memories, then nothing remains of the weaker vessel. Lena's stomach twisted. There has to be a way to break it. Alara laughed. A hollow, broken sound. Oh, there is. Death. Preferably before you start forgetting which thoughts are yours. Marcus kicked a loose stone across the chamber. Fantastic. So we're on a timer. Alara stood suddenly, gripping Lena's shoulders. Her fingers were ice cold. Listen to me. The key is balance. The more you resist, the faster it burns through you. But if you synchronize… A distant explosion rocked the temple. Dust rained from the ceiling. Lena whirled toward the entrance. Jax found us. Marcus was already moving, grabbing Alara's arm. Is there another way out? The older woman nodded toward a narrow passage. The lower chambers. But you won't like what's down there. Another explosion, closer this time. The temple groaned in protest. Lena met Marcus's eyes, really met them, for the first time since the bond had formed. She saw her fear reflected, but something else too. A stubborn determination that mirrored hers exactly. Marcus smirked. After you, partner. Lena punched his shoulder. Don't call me that. But she was already moving toward the passage, the bond between them humming with something that felt dangerously like trust. Behind them, Alara whispered to the shadows, "May the gods have mercy on you both." The darkness swallowed them whole. Chapter 6. The passageway narrowed until Lena's shoulders scraped against rough-hewn stone, the air growing thick with the metallic tang of ancient machinery. Somewhere above, another explosion sent tremors through the temple, dislodging chunks of rock that clattered around them. Marcus coughed in the dust-choked darkness. "Remind me why we didn't just fight our way out? Because Jax has an entire mercenary army?" Lena snapped, her fingers trailing along the damp wall for balance. "And because I'd rather not get vaporized today." A faint blue glow pulsed ahead. The markings on their arms flared in response, the intricate lines burning brighter with each step. Lena's breath hitched. The pain was getting worse, like molten wire threading through her veins. Marcus grabbed her wrist suddenly. "Wait, do you hear that?" A rhythmic thumping echoed through the tunnel, too mechanical to be human.
L'ENAS combat instinct scrimet danger.
Trap? Or welcoming committee? Marcus drew his pistol with his free hand, their linked arms humming with shared energy. "Either way, we're..." The wall exploded inward. Lena barely had time to register the hulking war drone before it lunged, its clawed appendages screeching against stone. She twisted, driving her dagger into its photoreceptor. Sparks erupted as the machine reeled back, only for two more to clank into view behind it. Marcus fired 3 rapid shots. Alara failed to mention the temple's security system. Maybe she thought it'd be a fun surprise. Lena ducked as a drone's plasma cutter whined past her ear, close enough to singe her hair. The bond between them surged, and suddenly she knew exactly where Marcus would move before he did. She pivoted, her boot connecting with his back as he dropped to one knee, using her momentum to launch herself over his crouched form while he fired between her legs. The shot struck true, blowing apart a drone's core. Marcus grinned up at her. "Nice teamwork, partner. Shut up and move." She yanked him forward as the remaining drone's weapons array powered up. They burst into a cavernous chamber, the ceiling lost in darkness. The walls were covered in glowing hieroglyphs that told a story Lena's pounding heart couldn't decipher. At the room's center stood a dais, and atop it, a pedestal humming with the same energy as their markings. Marcus whistled low. "That can't be good." A thunderous crash echoed behind them as the pursuing drone smashed through the tunnel entrance. Lena's dagger flared crimson as she faced it, but Marcus pulled her back. "Wait!" His fingers interlaced with hers, their joined hands casting eerie shadows. "Alara said balance, right?" The drone charged. Time seemed to slow. Lena felt Marcus's pulse sync with hers, their breathing matching perfectly. The markings on their arms blazed like captured lightning. In that suspended moment, Lena understood. She stopped resisting. The energy erupted from them in a shockwave, reducing the drone to molten slag mid-leap. The blast ricocheted through the chamber, igniting the ancient glyphs one by one until the entire room shimmered with golden light. Panting, Lena stared at their still-clasped hands. What the hell was that? Marcus's eyes reflected the glowing walls. "I think we just accepted the bond." Above them, the ceiling trembled. Dust rained down as the temple began its final collapse. Jax's voice boomed through crumbling stone. "There's nowhere left to run." Lena met Marcus's gaze, and for the first time, there was no hesitation, no fear, only perfect, terrifying understanding. "Who said anything about running?" she whispered. Their hands tightened together as the world fell apart around them. Chapter 7. The heart of the Blackwood pulsed like a living thing, the air thick with the scent of damp earth and something metallic, blood or rust. Finn couldn't tell. The raven's call had led them to a clearing where the trees formed a perfect circle, their branches woven together like a cage. In the center stood a stone altar, cracked with age, and atop it, a figure, draped in tattered robes, motionless. Finn's breath caught. Grandmother! Jace grabbed his arm, his usual bravado gone. Finn, we need to think about this. That thing. Before he could finish, the figure stirred. A skeletal hand emerged from the robes, gripping the edge of the altar as the figure slowly sat up. The hood fell back, revealing a face Finn had only seen in faded portraits. Leora Vane, her skin paper-thin, her eyes milky white, but she was alive. Finn. Her voice was a whisper, like whined through dead leaves. You shouldn't have come. Finn stumbled forward, his heart hammering. All these years. You were here? Why didn't you come home? Leora's fingers trembled as she reached for him. The Blackwood takes what it claims. I bargained my freedom to keep it from taking you. Jace's dagger was out now, his knuckles white. Okay, cryptic family reunion aside, what exactly did you bargain with? A shadow detached itself from the trees, resolving into the same cloaked figure they'd met before. Her voice, they said, their amber eyes glinting. Her memories, all the things that made her her. Finn's stomach twisted. No. There has to be a way to undo this. The stranger laughed, cold and hollow. There is always a way, but the price is higher now. Jace stepped between them, his blade steady. Name it. The stranger's gaze flicked to Finn. A life for a life. Yours for hers. Silence. Even the wind stilled. Finn didn't hesitate. Take me. Jace whirled on him. Are you insane? After everything, you're just going to... Finn cut him off with a look. She's my family. Leora let out a broken sound. No, Finn. You don't know what you're... The stranger raised a hand, and the world went dark. When the light returned, Finn was on his knees, gasping. The stranger loomed over him, their voice echoing in his skull. The bargain is struck. Then, like smoke, they were gone. Leora collapsed forward, color flooding back into her face. Her eyes, clear now and full of tears, locked onto Finn's. What did you do? Finn tried to speak, but no sound came out. His throat burned, his tongue heavy. Panic clawed at him as he realized he couldn't remember his name. Jace caught him as he swayed, his voice raw with fury and fear. No, we're fixing this. Do you hear me? We're getting your stupid, self-sacrificing voice back if I have to burn this whole forest down. Leora pressed her hands to Finn's face, her touch warm for the first time in decades. We will, she whispered. I swear it. Above them, the raven cawed again. But this time, it sounded almost like laughter. The Blackwood had won. And that was the end of the story. Comment below if you want the next chapter, and hit that like button. Please subscribe, turn on the bell, and as always, keep the last light burning.